Okay, for a whole host of reasons that I'm not going to get into, I'm not particularly happy with this setup. Mostly it has to do with the depth. I want to change my setup, so I'm going to mount this guy to the wall. To do that, I'm going to use a wall-mounted bracket that I got at the store. It's a two-part component. It has that, and this part that mounts on the TV. It comes with some adjusters that you can use to mount differently on the back. And what I'm going to use is mostly going to be the drill, tape measure, really important, steel wool, and some togglers. So, first up, the TV. I've already unplugged it, all that good stuff. Now sometimes the bracket, this is just really lucky, that bracket happens to fall right over all the screw holes. Sometimes they won't, and you'll have to use some of the other configurations to make it work. Should not, when you run the screws in, you should be careful not to overrun them. You'll note that I'm not running the screw gun at full speed. I'm just letting it find its own home. I'm not running it in super fast, because you don't want to strip out those screw threads. Now this particular unit has a set screw, and sets in and locks, and then this set screw would go in and it would lock into place. All I'm going to do right now, and there's also another screw right there that you can adjust for the angle. But what I really want to do right now is I want to see how much deflection it has, because I want to see how far to mount that off the surface. So, it doesn't have that much deflection. And it's about 6 inches, so whatever height I want the bottom to be, I can raise that up about 6 inches. It's kind of an average. It's guesswork. Always put your screw back where you're going to find it. Usually thread it in somewhere. That's a smart way of doing it. So, we now know that, oh, you know what? We're not going to want this base on there, so we'll take that off. So, I'd like to sit down and imagine how it's all going to fit together when it's done. TV right about there. I kind of like it. So, we want our TV to have about an inch clearance, so I'm going to shoot for 18 inches. So we take the 18-inch mark right there, and we hold 6 to 18. If you didn't know this trick, of course it's simple math, it would be 24, but if you had abnormal numbers, you can use this method to do your math. So anyways, 24 inches, that'll be the bottom, roughly. Now, steel wool. This is the ultimate stud finder. Now, packaging, it's important to intimidate it. Use a real knife when you're opening packaging. See, it's cowering in fear. The trick with this is to peel it in half, go on the wall above where you're going to be working, and rub it together. As you rub it together, as per other videos I've done, the dust falls. As the dust falls, it will collect on the screw heads, which are magnetized by the screw bits as they go in. You can already see them developing. You'll see right there, there's a little bit of a screw head that's collected. So now I know there's a stud right in this general vicinity. And now that we know the stud is there, can make a mark just in case we lose our our dust. We're going to shoot for 24 inches to the bottom. You also see there's another screw head right there. That'll be the bottom of our bracket. Mark your holes. Okay. Now the next bit's a little dusty, so you're probably going to want to make sure that you don't have anything that's delicate that would be hurt by the dust. You're going to get a large screw bit. In this case, it's going to be 3/8. Double check and make sure that 3/8 will work. These require a pretty large. It calls for 1/2 inch. Oh, I misread it. It's 1/2 inch. So you run your screw holes in. If you're being real tricky, you'll use a piece of paper. Dust catch. Come on. And there's a lot of dust. That's how much dust we saved from getting all over the desk. Again, always intimidate your packaging. These guys are pretty handy. It's basically a zip tie. Break it off. And now you've got a mechanical fastener in the wall. The ends of these guys, they slide back and forth. And that's how you straighten them out. So you stick it in, pull it tight, or pull it straight. That's how the West was won. Of course, not quite yet. You should clean up after yourself as you go. We're going to ignore that call. Now there's also fasteners included with the togglers. These guys are typically a number 3 bit. So we take the number 2, swap it for number 3. Kind of start it by hand. Probably should be using some washers, but I don't have any for this. That'll be a lesson for anybody watching this. Get some washers. And that one fell off and down and below, and that's why I did 4 of them. Sometimes they do break back inside there. But once the mechanical fastener bites in, the plastic's no longer a factor. So there's that. It came with some pretty heavy duty screws. I'm not going to use those. Just going to use these guys. Self-drilling. So, because I don't have any washers on this, I apply one screw up, one screw down tight on a bit of an angle. So I'm locking all the different sides of the bracket. In this case, I'm only concerned with top and bottom. Feels pretty solid. Now for the TV. Okay, so I got everything reconnected, hooked up, and works pretty good. Good and solid. Clears the one below it. And if I tilt it up, it would actually have that whole inch of clearance that it's supposed to have, but it actually just has less than just enough to clear it right now. And that has to do with the fact that I haven't played with a set screw right there. Love it when a plan comes together.